Hello, Night Nation. This is Andrew Phegley, and you're listening to Knightline Extra only on the Knightline Sports Network. All right, that is correct. I am Andrew Phegley, and this is Knightline Extra from the award-winning Knightline Sports Network. Knightline, winners of the Florida BlogCon's favorite podcast of the year, their 8th annual awards. Thank you very much, Night Nation. Playing for injured quarterback Mackenzie Milton and one another, UCF rallied from a 17-point halftime deficit to beat Memphis 56-41 and earn back-to-back American Athletic Championships. Their award? 8th. In the college football invitational rankings and this year's New Year's Day matchup with LSU in the Fiesta Bowl. In this extra, we're talking with former UCF quarterback Nick Patti as we go inside the red zone, and one of our favorites is joining us on the Knightline hotline, TJ LSU Dad, who was torn by this bowl matchup. Here we go. Welcome to Inside the Red Zone with Nick, the Wild Knight Patti. All right, joining me again, Nick Patti. Nick, we didn't have a chance to talk about this game that happened on Saturday, the American Championship. We don't have a game, immediately coming up this week, but I wanted to take the chance to talk to you about this because we had talked about this game last week. So what did you think about the performance that Daryl Mack put on?
Man, what an incredible game. Thanks for having me back on this week. It was what a week of up and down emotion, that's for sure. A lot of highly anticipated and obviously a lot going on in Night Nation and all that. What a great showing from Daryl Mack. He seemed extremely poised, extremely comfortable, seemed very, very prepared. I think that's a huge moment to step into with very little experience. And it didn't look like more than he could handle one time. It didn't look bigger than he was one time. And, it's very, very positive for us, I think, moving forward to know. I mean, I think we all knew, he's a highly touted recruit. He's got, talent through the roof. He's got the size, speed, arm. But it's just, you never know how it's going to be when you're the starter throughout the week and you practice with the ones and the lights are on in a packed house against a Memphis team. And I tell you, it could have been really easy for him to fold very early and start pressing and making some mistakes. And when we were down pretty quickly, especially after, his own turnover. But you take away that turnover and the others and he was pretty much blemish free. I mean, there's no perfect game by a quarterback ever, but, and I'm by no means saying he's perfect, but, there was a lot of other glaring issues. I could say that than our backup quote unquote quarterback playing this week. I thought he showed great poise and a lot to be excited for moving forward with this entire offense. Mackenzie brought a lot of good things out in this offense and is extremely athletic, and he could be very creative and create. I think Daryl brings the same thing, and they're a very different athlete. Daryl's a very different runner than Mackenzie is. He's a little more aggressive when it comes to running. He is a little more inept to let that deep ball rip, and we know Mackenzie's comfortable doing that also. But, I just think they're both great athletes, both great players, but Daryl specifically brings a different dynamic to the offense. It should be very, very excited to see.
Yeah, so the biggest thing, like you said, first there, you were talking about the turnovers, the fumbles from him.
Yep.
That probably was just nerves as far as I'm concerned.
It could be, absolutely. And the kid put a good hit on him, puts his helmet, freaking textbook tackle right on the ball and pops out. One of the first plays of the game. And, I think the more important thing is, you bounce back from it, come back, make a couple good throws the next drive and lead you down and score and keep your team in the ball game. That was the most important thing. Like I said, easy to fold in that situation and just say, well, I'll have the backup anyway. And I don't really expect much. But he answered the bell. That's for sure.
What does that say about him mentally? That is huge as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah, I just think it's a great sign of confidence. I think there's nothing else other than that, other than just being extremely confident in yourself, extremely confident in your ability, also extremely confident in your teammates. I think when you lack confidence, when you lack that, self-esteem as a player, that self-confidence, it's very, very easy to tank because you start wondering about, what if this, what if that, and my teammates are pissed off at me, blah, blah, blah. You worry about your confidence. He didn't waver there. I think that shows that he's going to have a tremendous ability to lead the offense. He's going to lead by example. He's going to make some plays. He's going to create all like McKenzie did. McKenzie wasn't the biggest rah-rah guy, and I don't know Daryl well enough to, say whether he is or isn't, and what he's going to show when he's more comfortable as the number one guy, the starter. But I can tell you, it shows that he'll lead by example and he'll correct his mistakes on the field. If that kind of play keeps up and that, if he's got to bounce back and he shows the ability to do that consistently, then that offense will have no problem following him, because they'll know that, he'll back up bad plays with good ones. And they're not going to be worried when something goes wrong as an offense that, here we go again, it's going to spiral downhill. They'll all have confidence that the whole offense will step up. The whole offense will rise to the occasion. And that's what we, certainly showed Saturday.
Well, put yourself in his shoes for a minute, and that should be pretty easy because of your history with this team and all that. But just think about, having one start in ECU where you were completely pretty much held to do the bare minimum in that entire ball game as the starter. Then you come in after your star quarterback gets hurt at the USF game, and then the next week you have to start in the American Championship game on ABC, sold out. The place is crazy against a team that you can get some trouble from. What are you thinking going into that? What do you think that he was thinking? I know you don't know what he was thinking, but you know what I'm saying? I think that you could mentally put yourself there.
Yeah, no doubt about it. I think, as we've talked about before on the show, the backup quarterback's job is to constantly have yourself in that mindset, that what if, prepare like the starter, all that cliche, one play away, all that good stuff. But it truly is that way. I mean, you're a minute man, and at a moment's notice, you got to be ready to roll. And, obviously he had some time to prepare for this game, but it's a similar, it was very unknown for him. I just think, that's a time too, in this situation where you're able to lean on your teammates a bit, and lean on some of the talent around you. This team, obviously, we mentioned last week, and it certainly proved that, we're not a one-trick pony. We've got a lot of talent out there. We've got a lot of strengths to this team. Offensive line being one of them. That's got to be a great confidence for Daryl, to be able to lean on those guys. You got a lot of years, a lot of starts up there. Obviously have a stable of running backs that you can lean on, and you got a lot of talent outside. So there's a ton of talent around him. Moving into that game, he's got to be thinking, I don't have to do this all by myself. That's a great confidence booster. I just think that, like you said, I can't put myself in exactly his shoes. But as a backup, moving on, it's hard not to tell yourself, just don't mess this thing up. That's the one thing. It's like, I just don't want to miss a beat that we did with the ones. And he didn't do that. I think that's every backup's worry, is that you go in there and look like the backup. He didn't do that. And it shows that going into the game, he didn't have that thought. I think he, like I said earlier, I just think he's got a tremendous confidence in himself. It shows, he exudes it. He's got a great poise. Good or bad play, I think he keeps himself under some pretty good composure, as a quarterback should. Whatever they did to prep for that game, whether he had Coach Heupel's help, the O-line's help, the veterans on the team's help, whatever it might have been, McKenzie's help, it worked, and they did a darn good job, and he needs to keep that up. Very, very well done.
So 19 of 27, 348 yards, 2 touchdowns passing, longest pass being 54 yards, only sacked 1 time. And then you add on top of that, I'm trying to find it. I'm trying to find it here. 18 rushes for 72 yards.
Yeah.
4 touchdowns.
Huge.
I mean, talk about
some of those. Go ahead. No, go ahead. You're good.
Well, I was just going to say, talk about some of the throws that he made, because he didn't just make long throws. He didn't just make short throws. He made all the throws.
Every throw. And I think that, that was the thing I was most encouraged about. We talked about last week how some of these big arm guys can struggle with some of the intermediate short passes, intermediate passes, touch passes, whatever it may be. And he did a really, really good job. My most encouraging thing from watching him was how accurate he was. Some of those key downs when we were running in-breaking routes and slants and digs and RPOs, he was right on the money. His timing was really good. He was assertive with the ball. I just think he knew where he was going with it. He wasn't guessing, and that's where you can get in trouble as a quarterback sometimes, especially as a backup, because you don't get all those reps, and you're not as comfortable with exactly where guys are going to be and when they're going to get out of their cuts and how they get out of their cuts. And, you spend so much time with these guys, you sort of know what move they're going to make on what route and when to expect them to break their cut. And so it can be hard as a backup. I think the biggest thing for him, though, his timing was so good. He was on point. He was accurate with the football, but he was assertive as well. He wasn't guessing. He wasn't late. And so I just think it was huge. And I think those rushing yards speak a lot too. That's huge. I mean, obviously that's a lot of yards for a quarterback, but if you broke down the tape, he got some really key yards and some big runs, some big third downs, some big plays that were just broken up, and that attributes to that sack total that you said only having one sack. It's because he can escape and get some of those yards. But there was some third downs he picked up that were crucial plays. Sometimes he ducked out of bounds when he should, but sometimes he put his shoulder down and used that size, and that's great. I mean, that's what you want to see from a guy who's savvy enough to make those plays. And I thought that he definitely didn't show his lack of experience Saturday in a lot of those things, but obviously the physical gifts are there. He's got the ability to make every throw. He's got the ability to take juice off the ball. He's got the ability to throw on time. He can obviously throw a hell of a deep ball, and he's got some wheels on him. But, I just think the sack total, one, our offensive line is fantastic. They have been all year. But two, his ability to escape and create helps that tremendously. And his ability on third down to create and extend drives, extend plays is huge for us. And trust me, it will be against LSU too, because historically their defensive line is the strength of their team, and it's no difference this year. Their defense is really, really a strong point of their team, and his ability to extend and our offensive line's ability to hold things off, that'll be huge against LSU.
Well, speaking of the offensive line, he had no problem standing in the pocket, and I think that shows some confidence as well. I mean, he just stood there sometimes, didn't even move, which is, can be a little discerning at times as well. But then again, if he has the confidence to do it, he has the confidence in the offensive line to do it, why not do it? I mean,
for sure. And that's, our offense, it allows you to do that at times. It allows you to sit on that back foot at times and wait for that bang eight to come open. Almost, and you saw that happen. I think it was on one of the third downs. He was throwing to his left, and he was just waiting for that guy to make his in cut and clear that outside linebacker who was busting to the flat. He sat on his back foot, and it looked almost like he was just standing in the pocket, but what he's doing. He's just waiting for that guy. He's waiting for that one throw. And so if you're looking at one of our progression type routes and he's just sitting there scanning and sitting there, I think that's when it becomes an issue. But as a quarterback, if it's a timing route and you don't have the ability, say in a pro style set where you can take the snap, make a 5-step drop, hit that back step and let it rip. You don't have the ability to do that in this offense all the time. And so you do have to compensate. And however you're comfortable doing that within the realm of how your coaches teach it, is fine. If that's how you're comfortable sitting and waiting and you're confident that route's going to open up, then that's okay. And some of the pocket awareness and stuff like that will come with time. You had the one turnover where call it a lack of pocket awareness, call it a great play on defense, whatever you want to call it. Maybe it's him comfortable in the pocket or he just didn't see the guy, but that's kind of stuff that will come with time. I'm sure no one was happy when that happens, but you sort of have to understand that the ability to look downfield, scan a coverage, feel the rush, move with the rush, and still make a throw is not the easiest thing in the world to do. That'll come with time. He showed flashes of being able to do that very comfortably, but that'll come with time with having a big comfort with your offensive line, not moving around frantic back there and looking at the rush without scanning the defense. But his ability to do that and flow will come, and like I said, I just think that works in this offense more times than people would realize.
Yeah. Talk a little bit about his first touchdown pass, which was the jump pass. That is a pass that takes a lot of touch, and he did it. I mean,
yeah.
And we were worried about the touch. But for sure. Particular pass, you have to have the touch. If you don't have the touch, it does not work.
You're screwed. And athleticism, too. I think it just takes a tremendous amount of agility, athleticism, wherewithal, poise. You can name it. You got to be able to set that up, get a really good fake, but also at the same time, you're scanning the defense. You're seeing if that linebacker drops with the guy, you can't just throw it up there for a pick. It's just like any other play, but you also have a very unusual action with that. Unusual being, you're typically not running up to the line, crouching down, jumping as high as you can in the air, and throwing a touch pass. I mean, that's tough. But I think it was just a tremendously athletic play. I loved how they set it up to. I think is it Hescock?
It was Hescock, yeah.
Hescock. That's how I can never say his last name right. But I love how, just the personnel. He's not a guy we've used a ton in the pass game, not a guy we've used in the red zone. Coop sort of is. Memphis is very, very familiar with Coops. Coop still got himself in the end zone because that's just what he does. I know Wyatt Miller's a little pissed off about that, but whatever, with that fumble recovery. But I loved how they match up personnel and throw him in there a little less, a little more under the radar guy, and squeaks out there, gets himself a tud. And I thought that was creative by Heupel, but a great play by both of those guys. Super athletic by Darryl Mack.
Okay, so last week a little bit we had talked. I think we talked about UCF really needing to look for the future quarterback.
Sure.
I don't know if that's such a dire need at this point anymore. I think, personally, I feel a lot better about. I mean, this is just pure speculation, but I don't believe that we will see Mackenzie Milton for next year. Unless something miraculous happens. It could, but I'm just going to say that I don't think that we're going to see him at all next year. He can redshirt and can come back the next year, and if he's able to. It could be
interesting,
right?
Right, and if that's what's best for him, I think you're right. I mean, certainly it's not that hardcore search for who's next. I mean, I think that it's hard to judge long-term plans on one start. He certainly did everything he could to give himself a long rope of being the starter at ECF, that's for sure. I think you show things in that game that shows you have the ability to be a very, very effective player, not only in a position that's less important, but to be that effective at quarterback shows that you got some serious ability. He sort of locks that in. You're absolutely right. For being a guy for the foreseeable future, that's no doubt about it. I think the most important thing moving forward is just gaining depth at that position. As we can see, having depth,
definitely have to gain a rep, or definitely have to gain depth. But there's no reason to freak out because we don't have a
no doubt
a quarterback.
Absolutely.
I mean, if he would have come out and played the way that he played in the ECU game, I would have been really worried.
Sure.
Or if he would have came out and had those 3 fumbles and then mentally broke down and didn't do anything the rest of the game, we would have had a big issue, and we would have been trying to get the first transfer guy out there.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
I mean, I can still see us getting a transfer for competition or whatever. I mean, you have to have somebody behind him, but I think he made a hell of a case to be the starting quarterback if that's what needs to be done.
Yeah, no, I don't think there's any question about it. No doubt in my mind at this point. Like I said, there's a lot of road to hoe, but at the moment, you can't. I don't even think argue the fact. I mean,
I think if you can come out with that much pressure in a championship game and perform like that, I don't expect really. I mean, everybody's going to have their off day,
for sure.
But I don't expect him to go backwards after a game like this.
I don't either, and not for good. Like you said, everyone's got an off day, but nothing shows that he doesn't have the ability to show up, game in and game out. I mean, obviously has the ability to prepare like a starter and be the guy and be a standout. He's got the ability to be a standout. He's got the talent around him to allow him to be, a standout. And obviously he took full advantage of that.
And he's got a month worth of practices before he has to play this next game, which is on a very, very big stage, a stage that he's never been on before. He wasn't on this stage very much before. So
sure,
it's going to be interesting. It could be an interesting Fiesta Bowl, but I hope to God that he comes out and plays just the way that he did last Saturday, except for those fumbles.
Yep.
And just tears LSU up personally.
Oh, for sure. I mean, two things come to my mind just in thinking of that, and this game, this stage, whatever. Last week, I made a comment to someone during the game that, if we were to have dropped that game, which, for however much of the game, we were losing by 17 points, and it was very feasible we were going to lose that football game, Yeah, twice. And it was, all but done. We were going to lose that football game. And I said to someone, this thing ends up this way, I put zero blame on anything Daryl Mack did. I really did. I mean, call one of the turnovers that leads to points. Yeah, I get it. I get that. However, he played well enough to win that game, the whole game. He played well enough to keep us in that game, the whole game. Those turnovers, that happens, like I said, no one wants to see them. But none of our downfall, minus the fumble and points, was on him. And I think that's a positive. Also, moving forward, he's never been a starter on this stage. He didn't play in the Peach Bowl, but he was on the team in the Peach Bowl. More importantly, he was the number 2 guy in the Peach Bowl, which in my mind, he prepared like the backup. He took number 2 reps as the backup. He got warm-up reps as the backup, prepared like he was going to play in that game, because like we say all along, that's what backup quarterbacks do. And so that will play to his benefit. He has been to one of these games before. He's been in the stadium on this stage. He's warmed up on this stage. It won't all be new to him. And so, yes, he's never been a starter. He never played against a team like LSU. So it'll be a lot, but there is some experience there on this stage, which I think is a positive.
Absolutely. All right, real quick here, let's talk about our other guy, our guy Greg McCray.
Yeah, man.
Got his 1,000 yards that I was asking for. 24 carries finally, 208 yards, one touchdown, a couple of receptions.
Yeah.
I mean, the dude can do it all.
He's the spark plug for the offense, man. I mean, it seems like every time they need something on that side of the ball, either him or AK stands up and makes it happen. It's either Greg bouncing one for 13 and getting the offense rolling, and bouncing one for a 17-yard touchdown, or it's AK catching one out of the flat and hitting it for 30. Not to take away from your question of Greg, but it's one of those two guys that always stands up. And I love that they have a spark plug like that. Greg's been it all year. I mean, he's a guy that, to rush for 1,000 yards, man, what a feat and what a special thing, especially for a guy going into the season. Few people had that kind of expectation. And I just think it's a testament to, one, the offensive line. To have 1,000-yard rusher is huge. And two, for Greg, just his being all year on the team. I mean, the way he's fought, the way he's run extremely hard every game, and he showed up in every game to give the offense a spark. None more important than this past week when he broke that first touchdown run was gigantic. To have those kind of plays on the offensive side of the ball is huge, especially in the situation they were on this past weekend. I just think he's been a huge part of that offense.
Absolutely. I was so happy to see that he got the number of carries that he did and got that 1,000 yards in the regular season. It's interesting because really he only really came on, about halfway through, to be honest with you.
Yeah, it's crazy.
So if he would have had the entire season being the featured back, in a very loaded room of running backs,
absolutely,
it's amazing that he could do that in that little of time, and he would have. I mean, I can't even imagine if he was the featured back the entire season, the amount of yards that kid could have had.
Yeah, no doubt.
Maybe we'll see it.
Offensive line, and
yeah,
sure.
Maybe we'll see it next year. I hope we'll see that continuing. and maybe he can lead the nation in rushing or something. I don't know. I mean, it's very possible with a guy like that. He's not the biggest guy. He can put on some weight, but boy, does he ever play a lot bigger than he is. Oh, big time. He plays out of his mind bigger than he is, and he's got such a burst, such a good first step. He runs with extreme patience. I think the mixture of patience, vision, and speed that he shows is deadly, and that's what makes him such a good runner. I mean, he's extremely patient. He's smart with the ball, making his cuts, and he can sure get after it in a hurry. It's just huge. It's going to be good to have him as a feature for years to come, and it's going to be great for the offense. It's going to be great for Darryl. I do hope that we can keep this offensive line play up, because we're losing a couple of good ones this year, but they've got some talent in the pipe there, and that's going to be the key, is keeping the offensive line play up like we've had this year. It's been phenomenal. Yeah, the two biggest things that I take from this season, McCray and Mac. Yeah, no kidding. Absolutely. All right. Well. Yeah, I mean, I just thought of that. I mean, I'm blown away from these guys, especially McCray, just because he was not on the radar. I mean, yes, he was, but he wasn't. I mean, he was buried back in that depth chart, and just had to prove himself. Did not have a scholarship, was a walk-on. Wow. I mean, a guy that ran for 1,000 yards at the beginning of the season did not have a scholarship. So, I don't know how that happened, but I know. What a talent, though. Unbelievable. Lucky to have him. All right, well, we will talk a lot more about the upcoming LSU game, the Fiesta Bowl, coming up here in the next couple weeks. I got to let you go because I got another guy coming up. No worries. But I really wanted to get you on here and talk to you a little bit about that, because I knew that you were excited. We had texted back and forth a little bit, and what a game, and I'm really looking forward to this Fiesta Bowl. I think that we can do it. I have no doubt that we can go and win that game. Yeah, I'm with you. I mean, what an exciting time. It shows that there is a lot to be excited about moving forward, and a lot in the pipeline. I jacked on it. Can't wait to get a shot at LSU. It's going to be great. Can't wait to talk about it.
Hey, this is Travis Dever, Kai's Real Estate, the Dever team, New Smyrna Beach. Your source for real estate and everything else New Smyrna Beach. Proud sponsor of Knightline and Knightline Postgame Live. Call me anytime at 386-690-1636. That's 386-690-1636. Let me show you my hometown, New Smyrna Beach, UCF's favorite beach. Go Knights and charge on.
You've heard us talk about the great food at our good friend Kyle Israel's restaurant, the Little Greek Fresh Grill. The Little Greek now has franchises available. Please call 407-697-2272. That's 407-697-2272 to see what the Little Greek can do for you. Also, check out the Little Greek's newest location at 6536 Old Brick Road in Windermere, Florida. The Little Greek Fresh Grill. Fresh, flavorful, fabulous. All right, it's time for y'all to check out KnightlineSports.com. It is our new website. It's got T-shirts, archive episodes, and more. It's about Christmas time, so I think this is the perfect time to order your T-shirt. It's a black T-shirt with either a white Knightline logo or a gold logo. There's another T-shirt on there that says Go Knights Charge On, basically on it, with the little Knightline logo head in the middle. There's going to be more soon, but this is the time. Christmas time is coming, and I bet somebody in your family, or maybe you yourself, would love to get a Knightline T-shirt for Christmas. Order now. All right, next we're talking with the one and the only TJ LSU dad when Knightline Extra continues in just a minute.
Spice up your company with homemade marketing services from Tasty Gravy Creative. Tasty Gravy serves up a menu of budget-friendly marketing, graphic design, and public relations services customized to your specific goals. Co-owned by a UCF graduate, Tasty Gravy can help refresh your brand, strengthen your online presence, or reinforce your company's message. Contact Tasty Gravy for help with your website, social media, marketing, advertising materials, and more. Visit tastygravy.com.
Hey Night Nation, it's Adam from the Sons of UCF. Be sure to check out our show every Wednesday only on the Knightline Sports Network. Now, back to two guys who probably won't be Cow of the Week nominees, Andrew and Trace.
All right, please welcome back a friend of the show. I love this guy. I love to have him on. I couldn't think of a better time to have him on because I think that this guy is conflicted at this moment. Maybe. Might be a little conflicted. Welcome TJ LSU Dad again to the show. Thank you very much for coming back and talking to me.
Hey, man, thank you so much for having me on, and a special hello to the entire UCF family.
So it's been quite a season for UCF.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. I mean, we can talk about all kinds of stuff here. We're not previewing the game yet. I'm going to have you on again to preview this LSU game that we're going to have. First of all, what about that? UCF and LSU playing in the Fiesta Bowl.
Wow.
Your two teams.
Wow, I've said it a little bit earlier. I just didn't think it was going to happen. I said, there's no way they're going to put us with, against UCF because, number one, I felt that UCF should have been in a national championship fight. I felt that you guys should have been one of the four, And then I'm thinking, what about one of these bowls in Florida? That's a lot closer. All it is, that was my thought process, and then it happened. And my phone started going off, and then somebody said, TJ, I think your worst nightmare just played out, man. I said, oh, no, And there it was, UCF versus LSU. And I said, oh, wow. It's not a matchup I wanted. Definitely. Not at all.
Yeah. I think it's going to be a good matchup, and we had kind of heard wind of it. It was, when the different entities were doing their little bowl pick thing as the season went on, LSU kept popping up in there every once in a while, popping up. And, we're good with that, obviously. I mean, we would have liked to play Florida in the Peach Bowl. That would have been perfect for us, personally. Just because, we've wanted to play Florida. We have, obviously, that would be a beautiful in-state rivalry. We would love to show them up, and I think that this year they would be ripe for the picking for us. They've kind of trailed us all year long, stayed behind us in the polls and all that stuff, and it just would have meant a lot for the state of Florida, I think, and UCF. But LSU, we'll take LSU. Another SEC, powerhouse. We love to play against the SEC powerhouses because people always say we can't do it.
There you go. And I posted on Facebook, man. I did my little football prophet spiel, and I just informed a lot of our fans. I said, look, I followed this team since 2016. I think they were 6-7 at the time overall. So I've watched every game. Even if I didn't catch it live, I caught it on YouTube. This team is formidable. Don't think that this is going to be some little Mercer, Bowling Green type deal here. If this thing could get out of hand, and it could get out of hand quickly. This is not the game to struggle offensively. And to my surprise, man, a lot of LSU fans on my Facebook page, they were like, T, we agree with you on this one, We've been following you talk about this one football team for 2 years now, because no one could understand why I was so adamant, so passionate about UCF football. And I kept saying, I said, man, this team is lightning fast. It's a track team holding a football, and that's what you're going to be up against. I said, they have this dynamic quarterback. Of course, young man went down. Then here comes another guy out of nowhere, and they beat up on, they come back and steal this game from Memphis. So the LSU community respects UCF. This is not a situation like last year where you guys were going up against Auburn and people were like, yeah, that's UCF. Yeah, whatever. Shoe fly. That's not the case. And, last point I want to make about this is, as someone who has been advocating for UCF, Even though it's a nightmare for me, these are the type of games that you guys need. So these naysayers can stop saying they don't play anybody. This is the beginning of the end of that.
Well, that's what that's the whole point. I mean, that's what we are looking for more than anything else is the people to stop thinking that we don't belong, because I think we do belong. We don't make the money that these other schools do. We don't make the money LSU does, but I think that we can compete. I have no doubt that we can compete.
Absolutely.
I personally think, and we can talk about this a little bit later, I personally think that we're going to be able to handle LSU. Now, tell me a little bit, just give my listeners a little bit of insight into the LSU fan. Because LSU fans are diehard LSU fans. Mm-hmm. They travel well. They talk a lot of crap. I mean, they're extreme fans.
Yeah. It's sort of similar to UCF. It's a huge fan base. The stadium holds over 100,000, people, we, having said that, man, this Alabama game didn't go our way, so we're extremely passionate, right? Unfortunately, man, a lot of our season goes as that Alabama game goes, and, we start the beginning of the year thinking national championship. We want to win a national championship. This is not an extracurricular activity like ping pong. We want to win all of it, and we had the team to do it. It's just that game, I always said, man, the football field is the lie detector. It's going to tell the truth about your program. And so we haven't quite recovered from that Alabama game. And then we have this thing in Texas A&M that goes to damn near 1 o'clock in the morning, the worst football game ever, man. And so you guys are catching us after some really two huge disappointments, because if we could have won the Texas A&M game, we were still in a hunt to get in that little mix there. But it took us out. So now we have guys declaring for the draft. Okay? That's what's happening right now. We have Devin is going to stay. Dick Buckus Award, linebacker, he's going to play. Greedy's gone. And for me, that's concerning. I know we're going to talk about matchups later, but with the speed that UCF has, we would have needed everybody, all hands on deck. So this is the mindset of the LSU fan. We're excited and we're worried because we're going to lose. We're going to have about 2 or 3 more players say they're not going to play and opt out of the bowl and declare for the draft. And that's where we are. So
Auburn last year, after they lost, they said this, of course. They said that, we weren't into it. We were just playing out, UCF. The fans especially had to make excuses saying that they weren't into it. They didn't care about the Peach Bowl. Is that going to be the case with LSU and the Fiesta Bowl this year?
Absolutely not. Coach O is not going to allow that. We need 10 wins. And this is the 10th game. It is important. It is paramount that we win one more game than we won the previous year. Now, you guys are undefeated 2 years in a row, which is just unbelievable. But LSU desperately needs this game. So you're not going to get this thing with Auburn, right? Well, Auburn says, after having a month to prepare for UCF, they showed up flat like that. That's not going to be the case, and you're not going to hear it from me. We want to win this game. And, there's a lot riding, but for me personally, if we win the game, then, I'm involved in this national debate over UCF. You know what I'm saying? I'm on the front line of this national debate, So we win UCF. I get the 10th win on a year, but then I'm going to have, trust me on this, brother, I'm going to have thousands of people run at me saying, TJ, you've been on this UCF thing. Look what happened, So it's a tough spot for me to be in, because I do believe in UCF. I believe that UCF can beat any program on any Saturday. I've watched these guys, man. I've watched this offensive line. I've watched these 3-4 running backs that you guys have, and these wide receivers. I just don't think, the speed that you guys have at wide receiver is NFL speed. So, you're not going to find us saying that we're going to, we wasn't in it, because you guys are formidable. You are a big bad monster that's on the schedule right now, and we need this game.
Well, I appreciate that coming from you, especially.
Mm-hmm.
It's a little easier probably getting it from you than it is others because of your love for UCF as well. But, I don't think that the Auburn players weren't into it last year. I've never believed that one time. I think that's an excuse.
They were into it. They wanted that game. But something that Killens said, they haven't seen speed like this before. Remember he made that comment? And
absolutely.
Everybody went crazy. Oh, he's giving them locker room material. Oh, and I said, you guys can print out as much as you want. It's the truth. They haven't seen kids that fast.
Yeah.
And so one of the other arguments, man, because I get into it with Alabama a lot, man. And one of my buddies from Alabama, his big thing, he says, man, it's UCF, they don't play anybody. I said, well, whoever this anybody is, can you let him know that they are trying to get a game with him? So I feel like you are the person that you're referring to, this anybody that they're not playing. They took out a billboard to play you. Why won't you guys play them? And he tells us, well, we don't have to play them. I said, but you can insert them for the Mercer game. He said, well, why would we want to do that? We don't have anything to prove. I said, but you said you're the national champion. You didn't play the guy who's undefeated. So, hey, man, I'm serious. I'll talk a hole in your head about this. But UCF, I told the guy, I said, how can you say that this school cannot beat people when LSU, Alabama, Georgia, everybody goes to the same high schools they recruit from and take kids from the same team? The same kids on that team are on LSU. Crickets.
Yep. Absolutely. I mean, I'm so tired of trying to talk to people about this and trying to get them to really understand what's going on here. They refuse to believe it. They absolutely refuse to believe what we've got going on.
It's the same kids in Florida, man. It's the same pool of talent. And if you want pure speed at certain positions, you go to Florida. You want kids to chase after those kids, you come to Louisiana. These places have signatures of the type of talent, what they're known for. And Florida is known for speed, man, at wide receiver, running back positions. I mean, it's just that's the reputation this way. And that's what this team is built for.
Speaking of speedy running backs, and I know I talked to you a couple times during the season, and I wanted to make sure that you saw our new speedy running back that just kind of came out of nowhere, to be honest with you. We knew that he was here, but we just didn't know his full ability because we hadn't seen him yet.
Yeah.
About 6 games he came in, and he finished the season with 1,000 yards with 6 or 8 games, like half of a season. That's crazy. Talk a little bit about what you see from him.
I tweeted about the kid, man. I tweeted about him, It's like his cuts once he gets to the second level is sick. It's what he does to linebackers in open space, man, it's sick. And I said, man, this young man is something special. All of them. I believe the other kid is Anderson, correct?
Yeah.
So it's Killens, Anderson is number 30.
McCray.
McCray, and I've watched all of them, especially now. I've been going back through because I got to try to figure out these players you guys got. So I'm looking at the games now from a completely different perspective. I'm trying to break down how in the world are these slants wide open like this, and that's because they have to respect. They got to respect this boy coming up the middle of this offensive line. Your offensive line, man, is busting these holes wide open. Now I wanted to see Killins get the ball in space more this year. He's getting the touches, he's getting the carries, but I think, in my opinion, what Frost and them had a lot of success with him is they were able to get him out on, in the flats gone.
Yeah.
Whatever those plays worked. They worked, but you have something special in this back. He is, brother. And, the speed at that position is one of your strengths. Yeah, the wide receiver speed, too. But those linebackers are always frozen in place because they have to respect that.
Yeah.
And I see it. And, of course, LSU sees it.
Yeah. One of the things about McCray, the thing that I love about him is he's so patient. He looks and just, knows where the hole's supposed to be, and if it's not there, he's going to go to the next one. But he just has so much patience, and then all of a sudden, boom, he takes off.
And he can get, I told my brother, I said, man, if that young man we better mind our business, because if he gets loose, you will not catch him, or Killins, and all of these guys are unique in their own way, man, and you'll have schools that have two good backs. You got some that, we have one premier back. Schools like Georgia, they're known for having two. But I honestly think that, UCF has three quality running backs, that I can name these guys off the top of my head. And I'm not a member of your fan base. That's the threat that they pose to anybody that's trying to strategize for this.
Well, you're an honorary member of our fan base.
Man, I love you guys. Man.
No question, you're an honorary member. But you know a lot more about UCF than a lot of other people do. I can tell you that.
I followed this team, but I tell people this is when it comes to the bandwagon, man, I built the wagon. You follow me?
Yeah.
This is my wagon, bro, because I'm a football fan. Overall, I'm a college football fan, and there's certain type of football that I like. And when I watched you guys against that Michigan game, I told you before. I said it that day. When we watch it, true story, man. When we watched this Michigan game, we started Googling your football players. Now you're losing. You're losing this game. I said, man, who is number 9? I said, this linebacker, man. Who's this linebacker? The linebacker that had the targeting play,
Right.
He got the targeting on him. I said, man, this is a tenacious group right here.
Yep.
That's when it started. I said, man, this coach, I said, watch next year. Watch next year. I said, this team right here is going to go the distance. They may not lose a football game. And I said it right, and they came right back, and they proved me right.
Yep. Well, and we did it again this year, which is absolutely crazy. I mean, you've been a college football fan for a long time, and it's happened before. There's other teams that have won 25 games in a row, but it doesn't happen very often. I would love to see it keep going. Obviously, we have to go through your LSU Tigers, but we've done pretty good against teams that their mascot is Tiger. I will say that.
Well, you guys play up to the competition. I do notice that. You'll play down to some too,
Yes.
and then they wake up in a fort. But you do play up to the competition,
Right.
and that's a good thing. That's a good quality to have. And that's the same as like my Tigers. We play up to competition. It's just that in that Alabama game, man, we didn't get the offense going fast enough. And this is the same situation we're facing again. UCF is faster than Alabama, and I told them that. I said, I'd much rather play Alabama again than play this team that we got to play in this Fiesta Bowl.
Well, it's going to be exciting, and I can't wait. We will talk to you again before that.
Absolutely.
I appreciate you coming on, man. I thought of you first when that bowl was announced because I knew that you were probably pulling your hair out. Hey, I got one more question.
Oh, my goodness.
One.
It's like having two sons, man. It's like being Archie Manning, and you got two sons. You know, going head to head, man. Like I love your program. You know, I'm LSU through and through, and you know the next team after LSU for me is UCF.
Well, we appreciate it, and we're glad to have you. Hey, I got one more question for you. We've never talked about this before with you, but I found something out about you. You're a writer.
Yeah.
Talk a little bit about that for me real quick. Let our fans know about that because this was something that I stumbled upon.
I don't really, because I don't like to spam my followers. Like the people who follow me, they typically follow me for football, but I'm a novelist and screenwriter. That's pretty much, I'm in PR for a living, but the thing that I do now more than anything else is I write. And my author name is TJ Spencer Jocks. I'm on Amazon right now, and I, do historical fiction. Right now I have a series out on relationships, and but that is what I do other than football. And when you see me, I've taken these long gaps away from Twitter. It's because my editor is cracking a whip and I'm trying to finish something.
All right. Well, that's really cool, though, because I think that gives an entire new dynamic to you that I didn't know about. I don't know how I stumbled upon it, maybe on Facebook or something, but I was surprised.
Thank you.
And, I'm going to read one of your books. I'm going to.
Man, I appreciate it. I appreciate it a lot. And that's, when we set up for the show, I was writing all the way up to the minute. I was just sitting there waiting on your call to come through. But that's my passion, brother. It's college football, in particular LSU, UCF football, and writing. That is what I do the majority of the time when I'm online.
Well, where can people, just remind people if they don't know, can they follow you on social media, and then where could they find your books? On Amazon? Just give us that name again.
You got it. TJ LSU Dad is where you find me on Twitter and Facebook. Just TJ LSU Dad. And my author on Amazon, if you type in TJ Spencer Jacques, Jacques, like Jacques, TJ Spencer Jacques, for those with the French. You will find all of my material right there, and I appreciate you guys, man. UCF family, they've offered to fly me out to every game. And I say I can't really travel right now because I'm still in a writing grind. But I may make this game, and if I do, I am definitely looking forward to connecting with you guys and partying into the night.
Absolutely. All right. Thank you very much.
Hey, man. Hey, brother. Hey, thank you. And anytime you need me, man, you know what to do. Just call me up, brother.
All right. One of my absolute favorite guys. I really appreciate him coming on. As always, I also appreciate you guys for listening to Knightline and Knightline Extra and supporting Knightline Sports Network. Here's what you need to do before Trace Trylko and I come together for Knightline 174, which drops late Sunday night. Be sure to listen to Knightline 173 as we talk with former UCF quarterback Kyle Israel and get a deep dive on men's basketball with the newest member of the Knightline team, former UCF men's basketball player Ben Stout, plus the Sons of UCF keep the conversation going with their unique takes on UCF sports. Stay tuned for the most in-depth recruiting coverage and countdown to UCF Fiesta. Knightline has it covered. I'm Andrew Phegley. Thanks for listening to Knightline Extra. Go Knights and charge on.